Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending where you're at. Welcome to the Collector's Table Live. We are here today, and we got a jam-packed show full of good information and some entertaining stuff. I'm glad you guys can all be here today. I have my two normal, the two guys that are always with me, Shane and K-Fet. I appreciate you guys always being here with me on Sundays. And we got Marcos. Marcos has been on the show a couple times. Marcos from Collector Zone. Thanks for joining us, Marcos. How you doing, man?
Sure. I'm 3 drinks in. No, I'm kidding. I will be, though.
I got the first one. I got this little Korean beer I've been drinking since, for the last 3 weeks. It's awesome.
Oh, very nice.
Same can, or what? You've been nursing it that
same
much?
Can. I've been on the same can for 3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
It's called something, the vanilla.
Don't butcher it, man. You're going to piss off a lot of people.
Huh?
Don't butcher the name, man. You're going to piss off a lot of people.
It's what we like to do.
Soku Bag's Thirsty Friend Beer or whatever.
That's it. You just gained like 30 subs. We're doing that.
Yep.
So how you guys been, man? How's everybody's weekend so far? This Memorial Day weekend. Actually, before you guys even mention that, I want to thank our fallen soldiers that have given their lives so we can have shows like this. A lot of people know I was in the military for a long time, and so was Shane. So Shane, I appreciate you too. But this is really not for me and Shane. This is for the guys that have lost their lives and over the years. So just wanted to give a quick thanks and condolences to all the families out there. Okay. But anyway, so how's the weekend? How's the weekend going, K-Fet? We'll start with you, man. What you been up to?
Going well, man. As those who follow me on social media know, my youngest graduated from high school, so moving that one out. I'm going to be an empty nester this fall, and
Congrats.
Just to add to the weekend, my XM Megatron showed up. So, all right, well, now I've got them all. I pulled the trigger, Shane. I was like, damn it, I'll just get Megatron. Fine.
Good for you. What do you think of the face? Because that was a big bone of contention for both of us.
Yeah, it came in yesterday. It's sitting in the box in my hall, so I haven't opened it, but I'll look at it today.
You got a habit of not opening Transformer boxes for quite a long time. For some reason.
I sit on shit, man. They just pile up in my.
That's how you know he's busy.
You ever open that Imaginarium Art Star?
I did open that. I should send you a photo just to prove it.
How'd you like it?
Oh, I loved it. I actually, good, I agree with Shane a little bit on that one. I actually liked it a little bit more than the XM one because it's a little closer to the animation.
So close to the animation, but still looks realistic.
Yeah.
It's almost a perfect statue for me. Anyway,
I love it. Yeah, I'm glad I pulled the trigger on it.
And that shiny gloss they put on it, that sheen, is just money.
You guys doing anything for? You guys have off for work tomorrow?
Yep,
yeah. I do.
Yeah. Oh, I know you do, Shane. And Marcos, I think you're gonna still be open. The shop's gonna be open and everything on Monday.
I'm actually closed until July.
Oh, are you? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
nice.
but a lot of members are like, they message me. It's kind of like by appointment. Hey, I'm in town. Open up, and they open up, and
they want to kind of check out the place. That's cool. That's cool.
Well, to buy shit, really. I'm not open. Well, because they're like, you saw the pictures. Well, Shane did the giant ass Thanos I have.
Oh yeah.
There's a life-size Thanos sitting in front of the damn door, and nobody's gonna move it. I don't want somebody to go in there and kind of,
Yeah, yeah. That thing has got to be ginormous. Are you talking about which Thanos are you talking about?
None of the Thanos you've ever seen in your dang life. So don't even try it.
I'm thinking of like the Thanos, the big bust.
No.
Got his hand up.
Okay. This one, if anybody went to San Diego Comic-Con about 2 years ago or so, 3, it was there for a hot second. It's an Iron Studio piece. He's about close to 9 foot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a life-size Thanos from the MCU.
And he's 1,800 pounds. So if you guys want to have him there,
silicone head,
huh?
Wow.
Silicone portrait.
Silicone portrait.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
crazy. Polystone body.
It's all different.
I got to take a picture of that when I'm up there, man.
Well, I'm getting a whole backdrop. You can kind of.
Oh, cool.
Face through it. Be all right with it. Yeah. Just please don't climb it. I know somebody will. I know somebody's going to climb on it. It's going to be very annoying.
Every collector, you never have to worry about a collector touching shit.
Right.
We all know.
Good point.
It's everyone else, the family, and the girlfriends, and the kids. But collectors,
The girlfriend's
don't never
baby.
touch other people's shit. We know better.
Like we said before, though, when we went up there last time, there was kind of a small issue with the guy that you had to kick out there, Marcos, but everybody else was pretty cool, and there was nothing broken or anything.
Oh God, yes, just don't put that in the universe. It's okay though.
You had some pretty good luck, man. So I think we'll be fine this time.
Well, yeah, it's filtered the right people, right? Another update here. Anthony's he's getting on. He's getting on. He just has his he says Chrome, like a DL Chrome, and it's a work computer, so he's trying to get.
That's okay. It's okay. Tell him to take his time to do it. We'll burn some time here. Just for everybody else that's watching right now, we still got people trickling in. We are going to have Anthony. How do you say his last name? Mestos?
You ask him when he gets here.
Mestos.
Or do the Korean beer thing again. Just
So he's going to be joining us here shortly, guys. He's just trying to figure out some stuff with his computer. But we'll talk about some Sideshow stuff today. He's a painter and an artist with Sideshow. He
does a lot more than that.
Yeah.
He can tell you more.
We'll cover all that stuff when he gets here. But in the meantime, let me see if I can.
In the meantime, why don't we say hello to everyone in the chat before Anthony gets here?
Yeah, I got
Get that out of the way.
Let's see what's in the chat.
Or Shane, you can do what Crippler did when Daniel Bell was there.
What did he do?
He was just going, giving everybody flowers. Daniel was like,
Oh, really?
Oh, he loved it though, dude. Shane, he loved that show, dude. He loved.
What's up, nice guy? How you doing? Good morning. He's definitely a regular and a moderator in our Facebook group, so we appreciate you, nice guy. Hope you're doing well. Lucy, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Jonas, nice to see you. Great Sunday morning, fellas. Have a good Memorial Day tomorrow, and remember the fallen to give us this joy of life. Absolutely, you're 100% correct. We were just talking about that. Mr. Kennedy, always nice to see you. Another regular on the show. What's up, everyone? Pull up a chair and grab a cold one right here.
Yep.
K-Fat saying what's up to everybody. We got Mitch passing through. What's happening, guys? Nice to see you, Mitch.
Mr. Lawrence.
Knight, what's going on? Hello, all. George, what's going on? Howdy. Shane saying what's up to our fellow geeks. Life Size Collector, what's going on? How many pieces you got, Life Size Collector? Is he, I don't know if I've ever seen his collection. Does he have you guys know him? Is it a big collection?
I think I've seen pictures before. It's been a while. I bet he doesn't have a life-size Thanos.
Hell no, you don't.
He might have a life-size bus or something. You never know.
The bus.
Yeah. Or get Marcos.
Marcos got a whole,
man. That bus
a whole body. Yeah, I'm just curious.
Sick.
I'm curious, life-size collector. How many life-size pieces do you have? I'm just curious. It's because I know those things are ginormous.
They're awesome.
Patrick Thomas, what's going on? How you doing? What's up, everyone? Yeah, I would. If I did life-size stuff, I would like a whole haul of Iron Man suits.
That'd be cool.
All Iron Man suits.
Yeah,
that would be really cool. Al from Top Gun Collector, what's going on, Al? How you doing? Good morning, folks. I hope everyone is enjoying their Memorial Day weekend. We are, man. Thanks for joining us. McFly, nice to see you. Noshi, yo, what's going on?
It's been a little while since we've seen Noshi. Welcome back, man.
Seen Noshi in a little while. Welcome back, Noshi. And Jojo, what's good, all? Marco's saying what's up to you guys. Who else we got up in here? Figure Kong.
Figure Kong pop.
Figure Kong pop. That flows it just flows.
It does. Perfect.
Yeah. Very addicting to say.
Yeah.
Hello, gentlemen. Happy Sunday. Hello to you too, Figure Kong. And we'll let some of the other guys kind of trickle in here. As a side note, man, we were talking about busy schedules earlier. I just started getting this Factor. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. It's like a meal thing that comes to your house. It's super easy. It's supposed to be like plant-based and healthy for you. I don't know. Let's see if that shit works. But it was delicious. It was really good.
Did they send beer?
You said, did they bring beer? I wish.
No,
I think I pay like it's like $159 a week or something for a family of 4. So It's good. It's better than coming home after working and then cooking.
They don't have like 20 options, right?
I don't even know. My wife does all the ordering for it.
There is a service that brings your beer though. What's that called? I don't know.
Are you serious?
No, I'm not kidding. Yeah, there's a service that will bring you any alcohol you want to your house.
I'm gonna need this name.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like what's it called? Like a DoorDash for beer. How cool would that be?
Something like that.
Yeah,
I think that's what it was.
Beer
Drunk
dash.
driving.
Right.
We'll start doing the marketing here.
but let's do this while we wait for Anthony to get in. I want to cover the show. One of the show's topics was going to be, or is going to be, the road to Statuecon. Okay, Statuecon is going to be coming up here shortly. A lot of people have been talking about it. We've been talking about it because we've just been excited about it. We're excited to see everybody that's going to be at Statuecon. But Marcos, I don't know if you, and I don't mean to put you on the spot with this. We didn't really talk about it before too much, but day by day, like starting like from the 11th to the 14th, can you kind of give us like a play-by-play, like a brief summary of what's going to be going on each day, if you don't mind, man?
Yeah, sure. I could try because it's still flowing, but
It's still kind of, this is all tentative.
the bones, but the bones of it, the premise is there. That it's there. Okay.
What's up,
So for other people coming to town, it really starts on Wednesday now, but whatever. That's different. But Thursday for, let's say, general, opening the doors, and then I finally figured it out. So then it took forever.
Thanks.
The open the doors, kind of just, hey, welcome. Especially so Thursday's completely different than Friday and Saturday and Sunday. Open the doors, we're just gonna start getting to meet people. There's gonna be people on Wednesday, like I said, they're gonna be there Wednesday. The artist and anybody else will probably trickle in here and there, And again, I do call it Statuecon, but the con part is the tricky part. It's more of an expo mixer, chill, coming in and out, because everybody who RSVP'd, that's the important part. When you RSVP, you're going to get the itinerary, and the itinerary is going to have alternative things for you to do and the basics of what happens. Thursday we hang out, and then people go their separate ways, come back. Between 3 o'clock and I think 7 is that gallery time. That everybody should be like, what? Everybody's coming back and chilling here.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to chill here. I mean, you could be there earlier. There's going to be, of course, live shows, filming, all that stuff going on at the same time. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So like I said, it's very flowy. There's no like, hey, between 1 o'clock and 4, Anthony's going to be here. And between 6, it's not like that. It's not structured that way.
Okay.
In and out. So but the ones that are structured is between 3 and 7, 3 and 8 on every single day, except Sunday. People are expected to kind of be at the gallery or trickle in to hang out and start kind of, be passing out a couple drinks, be chilling. This is the time.
Yeah.
And those who are going to the private dinners, there are dinners set in place. There's one Thursday, specific tiers too. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Then after that, I go, everybody, I'll see you later. We're going to the dinner. And then the after, who knows? There's bars and a couple places we can go. We can all just kind of, whoever wants to go left, go left. Go right.
There's no fee for entrance, right? Just for people that don't know, there's no. It's free to go in and walk around and look at all the statues and stuff like that, right?
Yep. There's no fee. We specifically didn't want to do that. That's just typical shit, right? No.
You have to bring the statue to enter. So
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Anthony, welcome, man.
Sorry, it took a little bit.
It's okay, man.
Yeah, I'm on the work computer and it's a Mac, so I just figured it'd work out, and it kept giving me, you need to download Chrome or Firefox.
Oh, it was giving that shit. Yeah.
So
You should have saw me using a Mac for the first time when I just got this MacBook like a couple months ago. It was like a kid riding a bike for the first time.
It's so weird. I'm a diehard Mac guy, but it's every once in a while.
Yeah.
Somebody throws something in there where I have to jump through hoops to get dialed in. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today, Anthony. And
no problem.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Let me finish my thought, because then.
Yeah, go ahead.
So those days. So then, of course, if anybody questions I get are like, what are the best days to go?
Mm-hmm.
That's upon you. But if you're going to see the most people, it's like every event. Friday and Saturday. Sunday's the chillest day. Sunday, I expect people to, hey, see ya. People jumping on planes or what's up, high fives, all right, good job, see you next time. That's Sunday, but it's still going to be open until 5, and there are people staying until Monday. So there are other things that we're just going to do, you know, off the record too, kind of stuff. Kind of, you know, it's not on the itinerary, but let's screw, you know, that's what it is. But the things that are structured are the dinners, and if you don't know about the dinners, just ask us, or if you're in the Collector's Own Cantina or all these guys, and everything else that's going to be semi-structured is when you guys go live, you do interviews, you do your filming, you do all that stuff. Because remember, Adam, last time you were in there, you wanted me to take off that Maji case thing so you can film it better or do that. Yeah, I'll be doing all that. Also, too, Friday and Saturday there's going to be an offsite event that probably 2 guys from the Collector's Zone are going to say, hey, we're going to be at Transient Brewery. Get your asses over here. It's not far. And first $500, $600 is on us or something. We'll buy you some beers there and then come back. We have so much booze. So the dinners, you know what? You guys are going to be all boozed up. I swear.
You said the first 500, Shane, we're going to have to pound like 5 beers back to back so we can try to maximize that, man.
Right. Puke in the garbage can. Go outside. You know, don't, you know, we're all adults. All right. So, but that's the only structured part to this. That's it. No, no entrance fee, none of that. There are the 2 dinners on Thursday and Saturday. You do have to pay a little bit. But the Thursday one includes alcohol and everything else. And the Saturday one, no, but we're going to be at the bar, so I'll buy a couple things. Screw it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so.
Nice.
Well, that sounds good, man. And again, a lot of this stuff is going to be tentative, guys. So things might be changing all the way up into Statuecon, the Statuecon event. But it's just good to kind of go over these things. We've talked about it a little bit before, but not everybody's heard, you know, what the plan was. If you guys have any questions, if you want to keep up with what's going on with Collector's Zone and everything else, join the Statuecon, join the Collector's Zone Cantina. And you'll keep up to date with everything that Marcos is putting out, so you know exactly what's going to be happening.
RSVP is the most. RSVP is the most important thing you can do because then I know you exist. You come around going, "What's everybody doing, dude? Who are you?" Well, I know who you are, but still, I can't.
Well, it just helps you plan.
Well, yeah, I got to cater. You know, you got to cater. You got to do a bunch of stuff, and I had to book places and stuff. So
I would hate to know how much money you got into this Statuecon.
The Thanos wasn't free. Okay.
But
there's a lot.
That's good stuff. We look forward to it, man. I know K-Fet's going to be there. For you guys that don't know, Shane's going to be there. We're all going to be meeting for the first time. I've been friends with these guys for over 2 years now, and we've become pretty close friends. And it's going to be fun to kind of see everybody. Not only these guys, but the guys that we always see in the chat, and actually see you guys in person. And then it's also going to be cool to see people from the big companies. I mean, like the behemoths, Sideshow, Anthony. Okay. And I know Anthony, from what I understand, you've been with Sideshow for a long time, right?
Yeah. What was it last month? It was 20 years actually.
20 years. Wow.
Yeah. Geez. Doesn't seem like it.
So you just started, huh?
Yeah, I just started. I remember when I was the new guy, you know.
Yeah.
But it's been quite the journey. 20 years. I look back, I even tell some of the other guys and some of my buddies, you know, back home. I'm originally from Colorado, and they're like, "Man, you've been out there for 20 years already?" And I'm like, "Apparently, time flies." Time flies.
While we're on that topic, Anthony, tell us a little bit about yourself. For those that don't know you, I know a lot of the sculptors and a lot of the other artists, as far as like mainly the sculptors, a lot of people talk about the sculptors and stuff like that. People talk about the painters too. Right. But we don't always get to see what goes on behind closed doors at Sideshow Collectables. Tell us about your role and what you do, and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been there for 20 years. I actually moved from Colorado to work for Sideshow 20 years ago. I had some mutual friends, and who was, Tom Gilland, who's creative director. We go way back, even before he was involved with Sideshow. We come from the model kit, resin garage kit hobby. where we used to, build models in paint and
Yeah.
back when we used to it was a hobby for us. And Tom comes from, doing models in the effects industry. And, I was doing some work for him, some freelance, 20 plus years ago, just on various little things, like back when they were doing the Brian Froud Ferry stuff, which probably nobody even remembers, and a few other things. And I was doing it remotely from Colorado. And at the time I was painting life-size dinosaurs for museums out in Illinois, and kind of going back and forth and just doing various things within the kind of statue art monster model type deal. I was writing for a magazine, Amazing Figure Modeler, for like 10 years.
You said life-size dinosaurs?
Yeah, life-size dinosaurs. That was pretty fun. Did that for like about 3 years. And that was prior to me coming out to Sideshow. But when I came back from one of those trips from Illinois, I had a phone call, and it was Tom, and he was like, hey, I got another project for you. And I was like, okay, cool. What do you have? And he goes, well, I have enough work for you to move out to California. And I was like,
oh, wow.
Oof. And I was born and raised in a small town, Pueblo, Colorado, southern Colorado. Never left, or anything. It was just kind of there. So it was a huge move for me, or a huge decision.
Yeah,
and everybody was like, you got to go, get the hell out of here. There's nothing for you for, what you're interested in, which has always been art, of some sort, whether it was graphic arts or, painting or model building or whatever, more geared for like, effects industry, or, because there really wasn't a collectible industry at the time. It was Sideshow and Gentle Giant, Bowen. That was about it, So anyway, I made the move, and I came out here, but what I was hired for was to paint, and they needed an additional painter. At the time, there was only 2 painters. It was Tom and another artist named Heath Hammond, who was in the paint room. And as Sideshow was expanding, so was the workflow. So they're like, we need some painters in there. So I came in to paint, and I was probably painting for 12 years, maybe. So when it went from painting
prior to that, you mean you were painting for
at Sideshow?
Okay.
Because I came in as a painter. I wasn't a project manager. It kind of evolved into project managing and more of the back and forth between art and admin type scenario. And then it evolved to where I was kind of running the paint department. So I ran that. At the time, they weren't really throwing out titles. So there was no real paint manager, even though it was like managing the paint department.
Even though that's what you were doing, yeah.
Exactly. So that was about 12 years, roughly. And then it evolved, it kept getting bigger and bigger, and we were getting additional painters. And then there was another shift, and it was like, all right, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay in the paint room, or do you want to, there's some opportunities that presented themselves. So I was like, all right, let's move and see what it has to offer. And that's where project managing came into play. And when I say project managing, that means we have 4 project managers, 2 main project managers, myself and Jesse Lincoln, who will be going to Statuecon as well. So you guys will meet him. But basically, we get, once the projects are decided, we get the project, and we oversee, once the design has been done, we vet it with the design team and go through all of it to, is this producible? Can you break it down this way? Is this going to break? Yada, 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 whatever it may be.
Yeah, so let me ask you this. I don't mean to interrupt you here, but so let's back up a second. So from the time, so you've been with Sideshow for 20 plus years. That was probably when Sideshow was they were probably already
10 years
working on a lot of stuff for about 10 years, right? Because it's been 30 years.
Yeah, because when I came in, we were right towards the end of Lord of the Rings stuff. So we didn't even have the Star Wars license when I was there. So there was a lot of stuff that was happening. It was somewhat the infancy of some of the big licenses that we were doing. At the time, it was Lord of the Rings, Universal Monsters, Hellboy, Buffy. We were really heavy into the 1/6. Hot Toys wasn't a dominant. They were just a spec. Hot Toys was doing military figures.
Yeah.
Wow. and they ended up evolving into the behemoth that they are now. So yeah, when I was there was no Marvel, DC, definitely no DC, no Star Wars.
Sure.
Yeah.
How long, as a side note, I don't know if anybody knows this, but, and I've only been collecting since maybe 2018. But how long has Hot Toys been around, Marco? Do you know that, Marcos or Anthony? They've been
around for a while. Like I said, I don't have an exact date.
They've just been around for a long time.
Yeah, like I said, they were doing mainly military figures. That was a big thing in the Asian marketplace for 1/6. Military was huge,
like soldiers, like
it was World War II, fighter pilots and
I didn't know that.
Vietnam and you name it. And they were, that was a big thing 10 plus years ago. And I guess it still is, but I don't pay much attention to it.
They were established in 2000.
What was that?
2000.
Established in 2000.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah. And then they got ambitious and once they established themselves and then they started going after license. We started working together with them with the Star Wars, license, and the rest is history, so to speak. But
let me ask you this: so, is there? I know that you said back then they didn't have like an official title, but right now, what is your official title for people that don't know? With
it would be project manager.
Project manager.
/ develop manager, but usually I just project manager.
And
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. And that's just for the paint department or the paint.
No, it's overall. Yeah, everything.
Oh, okay. Wow.
A project it encapsulates, like I said, everything from design to paint to mold and cast to print.
Wow.
It doesn't necessarily stop when it goes into production, but we have production managers, and those are the guys that are solely focused on involved with overseas production. But since back in the day, it was like I said, we didn't have defined roles. It was kind of like everybody was kind of dabbled in everything. So I used to go to China and go out to the factories and do QC, and I mean I'd be in the factories painting and correcting stuff back in the day.
Oh my God!
And it was quite the experience. And let's just say I'm glad that we have production managers that handle all that, because I'm not looking forward to making that trip.
It'd be a long trip, yeah.
Yeah, because I think I've been out there maybe 8 times or something like that. So,
God.
Let me ask you, so walk us through the process from the time you guys there's an idea. Who comes up with, all right, the next piece we're going to be making is this. This is the plan. This is the plan for it. Tell me, kind of walk us through those steps, if you don't mind, on, from the idea all the way to the statue.
Yeah. So, I'll just, once again, I'll always refer to like back in the day, because things have changed, in 20 years. Early on, it was very, Sideshow was much smaller. It was a tight group of people that kind of, we were all kind of making decisions amongst, a group of artists, and we would, decide on characters there and just kind of, once we figured out what we wanted to do, and it was much looser as far as how we were. But once again, it wasn't it wasn't crowded and oversaturated with characters. So it was easy to pick characters that hadn't been done or nobody had seen or whatever it was. Well, fast forward now to, everybody here is well aware of, how many Supermans and Batmans and Vaders and everything have just clobbered, in a good way, I guess. It depends. We could talk about that as well. But so now, it's a little bit different. Sideshow is a much larger company. We have various departments now and various roles. So we have, we actually have a design department. We have, groups of artists that have these talks. And we also now it's, admin gets involved to where it's not just a decision based off of what fans want, even though that triggers it.
Sure.
And what I say is fans, let me back up. Not fans meaning you guys, meaning fans on the inside, because we are all fanboys on the inside. I think sometimes, a lot of times I see on some of the podcasts or wherever, where people assume that maybe it's very corporate and it's just picked like, what are these guys doing? And it's quite the opposite.
And that's what is interesting to me, because a lot of us, we listen, even on this show, we say a lot of things and we don't.
Oh yeah,
They're always wrong.
We have no idea. You know what I
They're
mean?
always wrong.
I mean,
It's
yeah,
it's
if you're on the outside, how do you
yeah, it's fun to kind of know, like, guess, like, hey,
right?
what, like, who makes a decision? Is it a group of project managers?
The group, the project managers, not necessarily.
Or,
Yeah, not necessarily the project managers. I mean, we definitely have a say, but it's already been
predetermined.
Somewhat. There's a list, and I mean, when we get projects, I mean, there'll be times where we're like, wow, where did this come from? Or is this what we're doing? Or we could throw in and go, hey, have you ever thought about doing this? Or you know what? The fans, the collectors are clamoring for this. We definitely have input. But I mean, we're all kind of on the same trajectory when it comes to some of this stuff. So, and they look at numbers, they look at sales, whereas back in the day, it wasn't quite, defined that way. But once again, because the industry has gotten so large, and now you have numbers to look at. You see buying trends, and it's easy for us. We've been around for so long that all we have to do is, and when I say we, not necessarily me, but all they have to do is get on the computer and go, what are the top sellers? What is hitting? How are things being, there's stuff that defines the decisions. It's just not.
I see. So it's obviously data collection over the years. You guys have been out for so long. You're looking at all the data and you're like, okay, what is the highest probability that we're going to sell this statue if we make it?
Yeah. And there's gaps, there's gaps of things that, it's not always data driven but I mean, we do have to look at that because, if it was left to our own devices, Sideshow probably wouldn't exist, because
right.
all of the artists, like I said, we're all fanboys and I mean, you see all the crap behind me, and this is my office at work. I came into work to do this. So, we're all collectors at some point. We all came in, at least, from the art and even admin, you go up into theirs and they have their cubicles of, it's funny because when you walk around, you can get an idea of personalities based off of, what they have in their cubicle or their shelves or pinned to their cube or whatever. And, you go, oh,
that's got to be cool though. That's
got
to be cool.
The anime person, there's the Star Wars guy, there's the DC guy, it's all these little factions going on and stuff. And, me, I'm all over the place, but I've been collecting, forever. But not to get too far off topic, I mean, those decisions are made, and once we decide on what we're going to do, we start, poses and design start getting vetted. We have a process that we go through with all the artists and, with various sketches and that's where like scales determine whether it's going to be premium format quarter. Is it going to be 1/6? Is it going to be, 1/5? Whatever it may be.
You guys got parameters, right? You got parameters that you got to stay within because of licensing agreement. How does that work? Yeah.
Those, I mean, without getting too deep, when we have license, our license are for, I mean, most everybody knows they're for specific, you have the Marvel quarter, or you have, a DC, 1/8 or 1/5 or whatever it may be. So
whatever that license,
we're always looking to feel like what's going to be next in that thing. Because I mean, when you do a license, I mean, you sign on, you have that license for a specific. You can't veer out of that license, even though sometimes it's like, wait, what? We're doing this and somebody else is doing the same thing, but it's usually because it's coming from Asia, because it's split differently. I mean, there's Marvel Asia, Marvel, US, and It some people think it's all under one umbrella, and it's not. And that's why sometimes you see stuff that's like,
broken down by regions.
Right. Exactly.
So let me piggyback on the scale thing, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
That Wolverine 1/3, the Batman Joker 1/4. Things that I haven't seen in my Sideshow experience, which is fantastic. I think branching out.
Right.
That's something.
Well, it's funny because and the Wolverine. If you're talking about the most recent Wolverine,
the Berserker,
tucked in.
Yeah.
That was originally a smaller scale piece, and it was a whole completely different design. If you're familiar with the Spider-Man that you're doing with the Sinister Six, where that's kind of wrapping over Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's right.
Wolverine was in that vein, and he had kind of the same deal with some villains and everything else. But the composition was just, to get him down and crouched down, his leg would have to be back, and you get all these weird factors that'll domino into issue, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, this design isn't going to work.
You got to start it all over again.
Yeah, and it was going on forever, and we to where it was like a pillar of bows similar to Spider-Man, but because his leg was back and he was leaning, it was becoming wide. So it's like, this isn't working. So we started reevaluating some stuff, and we took away the back and kind of had him coming out of the base. And then as it evolved, long story short, we decided let's just get away from that concept. It'll work for Spider-Man. Let's dabble with Wolverine and see. And then as we kept going, Wolverine was just looking so cool on his own. And it was like, you know what? Screw it. Get rid of the whole base concept, and let's just have Wolverine as a standalone. And then
so is that how it became for the 1/3?
So what's the 1/3?
That's kind of what I was getting at. So it was never intended to be, and it's not. I don't think it's not actually said that it's 1/3. That's something that I don't think it's officially on the site unless they embraced it as a 1/3 piece. Because when we did it, we kind of just said we like this size, but it could fit into the 1/3. So it was easy to get it into our licensing. But as far as scale goes, I think what a lot of people understand is that scale's relevant to the size of the character and if it was real life. And there's a little bit of leeway in there on how to do it. Because a lot of times we were doing some stuff that was like, how does it look like in the landscape of the pieces? So they all kind of fit together. But if you really wanted to dial it down, Wolverine's a little guy, and then when you see him too, it's like when it's something stylized, like the one that you're talking about, his body mass is so big and his head is, smaller. So are you, it's like with the Hulk, what scale is he? Because it's like, if you go by his body and his overall dimensions, okay, you scale it in, but sometimes the head looks too tiny because it doesn't fit with the stylized design of all the other characters. So it's like, all right, well, do we scale to the body or the head? Well, let's get him a little bit bigger, because if not, he's going to be like microcephalic. He has a little teeny tiny head. And when you do that, if you scale him up, then the body gets big. So there's a little bit of leeway. So when I say Wolverine wasn't actually intended to be 1/3, it's roughly in that. If you look at it visually, you're like, oh, it's one. I guess that's about 1/3. But I'd seen it where everybody was just like, is that 1/3? Is that half?
Me too. I went right into it. I was like, yes, it's the 1/3. It's the new 1/3. I thought it was 1/3.
Yeah, it's
Kev,
big.
do you have it go up there, Kev? Does it say 1/3 on the site? I thought it said.
I'm looking at it. I don't know.
I don't think it did unless they put it in there later. But I don't think there was ever any, because at the time
it did.
I got a question for you, Anthony, about that. I find it weird. A lot of collectors find it weird that for some reason Sideshow doesn't give a scale, because as collectors, we like to scale our stuff accordingly for the most part. why wouldn't Sideshow just say it's 1/3 and just make it so it, because it basically is 1/3.
It is 1/3. Look at this thing.
Did they put
Anthony,
1/3, like an inch away from being exactly 1/3? So
Yeah,
why not 1/3? Why?
Yeah,
why
I
use
get it.
it
I think they did put a scale there. Let me see
Does
that.
it say
I can't
1/3 on
do
there?
No, just the size of it.
Yeah.
Look at that damn thing.
Oh, just the size. Okay.
Yeah, they don't have a scale on the website. Last I
Yeah.
looked.
I think the thing is so, and this is just kind of, I mean, we're not out most of the time. We'll put a scale on there. Some things don't have, they'll say it's because we fit it into a line, like whether it's Mythos and the line defines
Right, pyramid format, so like that. Right.
the piece, but
Right, but usually there's an actual scale on
Right.
the side of pieces.
right, and I think I don't
be a thing going forward.
I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that, because at least from a personal view, and I mean, we don't sit there and really, I guess at least I don't. It might get involved on the front end, but as far as scale goes, sometimes when you go, okay, this is 1/3 scale, and then you're going to get people go, this isn't 1/3 scale, this is blah 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 and whatever. And then
it's almost easier to say non-scale, or
it turns into evolves into a weird talking point. It's like, well, even when we internally, when we do scale, it's like when we were working with like Legacy, like their Legacy Effects, who's an effects shoot off from what used to be Stan Winston. When they deal with scale, they're super precise on scale. It's like, what is it, 18 inches is a 6 foot person at quarter or whatever. There's a formula.
Yeah.
When they were bringing in their stuff, when we were working with them, and they're like, here's your quarter scale piece, and we're like, whoa, that's not the quarter scale because it turns into the height of the person. So it's like sometimes we'll do like whether it's Ahsoka or something, that the person is a very small person. If it's an actor, it's different in comic books, but if it's a person that has a defined height, you can bring them into the line and say it's this size, and people are gonna say, no, it isn't, that's small, or that's whatever.
Right.
And it's
Not
like,
knowing.
and it's like, well, if you do the math and you really want to get down into the weeds of it, this is the right size.
This is it. Mm-hmm.
And model guys know that, because that's what they do. They go by scale, and the effects guys definitely have to do it because of the movies, and they have to have continuity, and everything is triggered off of scale. In the collectible industry, you see a lot of stuff, not just with us, where we could at least fudge it visually, not necessarily so crazy to where it's like, out of pocket, but where as long as we can keep it within our license and kind of run. I totally get. It's funny because as a collector myself, and I've been collecting, since before I was working for Sideshow, but it was, model kits and everything else. Scale wasn't a big deal, but as the collectors started collecting lines, and some people, that's all they do is collect statues and stuff, it became one of those kind of flags to them, where it's like, you guys and other collectors, we collect scale lines, and we're aware of that. I mean, we have those, and that's why we have to have our license, cut out for that. But I mean, it seems like it's such a big thing, because like when I buy something, if I like it, I just get it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't.
Anthony, let me ask you something. Okay, here you go. Who defines the domain of the scale? Is it a company that says, I demand I have, say, on the 1/614 scale, or is it the companies going, you know what, we're going to make it all these little scales so you guys can pay more?
Yeah, no, I think it's more, and just from what I know, I mean, because I don't get into the nuts and bolts of licensing, but I mean, because Sideshow's been around for so long, I wouldn't say we have a monopoly on it, but it's just like with anything. If you're the first one that you get your feet in there, right, we're able to like continue to re-amp up our licensing and say, well, we've always had this. I mean, it's going to take a lot for somebody to come in and yank a license.
Yeah,
we've been doing it for so long, and doing it well and making the companies money, and they're not going to want it. So they will. What we have seen though are that the studios are slicing the license pretty thin, you know,
Right.
where it gets a little. That's out of our control, pretty much. You know, it's up to the studios because you know at the end of the day, they want money. You know, so
I want to show. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll let you finish that thought.
no, I was just going to say, so they're going to look at how they can, you know, finagle some stuff and get more people in doing things that aren't quite stepping on each other's toes. But there's a lot of like that's kind of what I was saying. Like if you see, say like Marvel Asia or whatever, you see a lot of stuff over there that's like, they're doing the same license that we're doing. How is this happening? But it's a whole different, you know, the market is what it is.
So Figure Kong makes a good point here. The topic of scale for some companies is you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It will get talked and criticized about regardless. So that's, I think this is pretty much what he's saying. Yeah, it's kind of.
But once again, we're not just like doing crazy, you know, out of pocket, you know, all over the place. Which I guess, you know, maybe some collectors think that because they collect so specific, and they're looking to see a continuation on some things.
Well, let me touch on that for a second. So what's going to be next in that line for, is there going to be a line other than Wolverine, or is there something in the works?
I don't know. I mean, we have been experimenting with scale and seeing where, I mean, you guys see where it was like fastball, you know, where we're offering that
was cool,
you know, 2 scales, and we were just like, let's see what happens. You know, we won't know until we try it. You know,
that is such a cool concept with the one with the comic, and he's coming out of the comic with the, you know, the fastball.
Right. I mean, I was even surprised when we were doing it. I was like, whoa, we're doing all of a sudden I seen a big one, and I was like, I didn't know we were doing, because I didn't project manage that when Jesse did, one of my coworkers.
Thanks, Patrick.
And you know, when we went into that, we were exploring some thought about that. But I mean, like I said, you know, if you look at what collectors are saying, and you know, as much as people think sometimes that some people think we're watching constantly, some people think we don't watch. Certain individuals watch and keep our finger on the pulse and see what's going on. And there's a lot of talk about, you know, scale, and we want this and we want that. If we did everything that everybody asked for and demanded, we'd be in trouble, and we wouldn't even be able to. Because some of the stuff we don't have license for, or licensors wouldn't allow it. But like I said, we won't know until we try. So it's like, all right, let's see what the response is. We're giving options. And if we're going to do an option, we definitely don't want to do, here's the exact same thing at a larger scale. It's like, okay, well, this one has the comic book, this one doesn't. And I know some collectors are like, it should have been this way. That's just human nature. Somebody's going to ask for the opposite. You know?
It would be so hard to kind of just, it's impossible to run a business, in any business, I think, and try to please everyone. You're not going to please everyone.
You can't.
And sometimes I think it's a company's job to let us know what we do like, I think, in some cases. So
and you know, if this doesn't resonate with the collectors, and we see that sales or numbers or whatever it may be, it was like, well, I guess maybe that wasn't a good idea, but we did it. Or if it does resonate and it's like, holy shit, you know, everybody got their hands wet and got what they liked, you know, for Christmas. So then you'll see momentum going towards more situations like that, where we're offering, you know, different scales with maybe a different exclusive or whatever it may be. It's really about giving options to collectors.
So you got me. So I'm going back to that Wolverine. So now if I look at it, it might not be 1/3. It might be just a little bit smaller than a half scale. Because I'm looking at those pictures compared to Daniel Bell's
it's
piece.
all proportions, you know. So
Huge.
it's big. So I mean, like I said, you could say like scale him at his portrait and say 1/3. Well, once you scale him at 1/3 based off of his portrait, the body's gigantic.
So now I'm rethinking it, man.
So that's where you have the ability to kind of where people think it's out of, you know, not in the line or whatever. Because I was really curious to see how collectors would see what they would think that piece would be and if it says 1/3, it's because we were like, it can
It
be.
doesn't say it.
Okay, I was gonna say it's roughly looks like a 1/3 piece,
It might be bigger.
but I mean because the body is so big, but his head might be like scaled to 1/3. Now, if you scale the body to 1/3, then it's gonna, it starts throwing things off just because of the design and proportions.
Shane, look at that one and then look at the Franco PCS one. It looks bigger than that one, right? And that's a 1/3.
It does. And for me, I think that Wolverine looks fantastic. I wouldn't buy a piece that's non-scaled. To me, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And see, and that's kind of what I was saying. There's collectors like yourself,
right?
Collect very specific pieces, and they want them in a line, and they want
right.
I don't expect
they want to look
scale to be perfect. You know what I mean? But I do like a scale. I like a defined scale.
Right.
So Anthony, back to the Daniel Bell Martin Canali one, the 1/4 Batman Joker. That's cool.
Right.
And that says 1/4, right? It's a pretty informant, so I'm assuming
it's 1/4. Yeah, it's quarter and it's big.
So, and I've never, in my, working with Sideshow, I've never seen a Dyro. Most of the time it's like a 1/5 maybe. Mm-hmm. See, now you got me coking. No, I don't want to say anything because like you're wrong.
No,
but you know what I'm saying? That's beautiful, man. And to go bold
and that's an ambitious piece.
That's good.
Once again, that's something where, it's easy to get caught up in doing repetition or, how many times it's trying to bring something out, something new, something that's, somewhat affordable, because I mean, we see what prices are on some of these larger other companies. And it's like, I mean, I look at it and I'm going, these pieces are awesome. I would never collect it. I can, look at it from afar and appreciate it.
Mm.
It's like not just price wise, but size. It's like who has room for some of this? But there's still people that, that want those larger pieces, and
they do.
And if it wasn't, I mean, we wouldn't, we wouldn't have a Statuecon, or we wouldn't be discussing that right now.
Right.
So,
well, let me ask you something besides scale here for a second. If we can, is Sideshow, obviously Sideshow likes making more affordable statues. Are they trying to keep the price point lower or under $1,000 for these premium formats for the most part? Or do you see it creeping over $1,000 over time as they get more elaborate or whatever?
I mean, really,
what is their goal there?
I mean, we always want to keep stuff affordable for the customer. The thing is manufacturing and shipping and everything else. I mean, I don't think it takes a genius to figure out why prices are going. I know a lot of people think it's like price gouging, and shipping is a huge issue and everything else. But I mean, every year, prices go up overseas, whether it's on resins or
every quarter.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. And I mean, when COVID hit, that was, I mean, we've seen what happened there, and it was, kind of putting the kibosh on companies, and because just shipping alone, they couldn't get product over, and there was a shortage of shipping containers and
shortage of everything.
Everything. So if you could outlast that, that was a testament to things. But I mean, it really is defined on, and that's kind of, manufacturing will determine what you're making to if you're doing smart business, because you can't go and decide you're going to make some crazy elaborate piece and then go into manufacturing and then find out you're in the red on it. I mean, it doesn't make good business sense, no matter how much somebody wants it, whether it's one of us internally or fans or anything. So you really have to kind of decide on the front end and have that common knowledge of what it's going to take to get that thing through production into collectors' hands, which I think is where you see some companies, especially some of the companies overseas, where they just go bananas. And I think what happens is the collectors see that stuff and they're like, well, such and such did that, and look at these things that are coming out. And it's like, well, are they coming out? And
right.
Are those companies still around? A lot of times you get companies that that have a lot of money,
They think
individuals, and they just go crazy, and they're in it for the quick grab and whatever, or they have bottomless pockets, you know. But if you're going to do smart business, you can't really go that route. And I think that's why, you know, a testament to Sideshow being around for 30 years rather than some of these
definitely
other
a behemoth in the statue world. They've been around for so long. You know what I mean?
Trust me, there's a lot of stuff that I would love that we would have made or could make, and ideas that have been coming around for years, you know, within the 20 years. And everybody goes, yeah, it would be so awesome. But the reality of it is, like, there's no way, you know, even if we have the license, you know, or if we're going to chase the license and to make something specific, we'd be like, are we going to lose our ass on this, or are we going to, you know, be able to make this something, you know, where we make some money and the customers are happy and they get what, you know, a quality piece. So,
well, the last thing you want is shit sitting around in the warehouse somewhere, or if you got a whole bunch of stuff. And I think that's what helps you guys make stuff in batches. You make stuff in batches so you don't have such a huge backlog or you're sitting on inventory, I would assume.
Right.
But, let me ask you,
if you have inventory, you have to have warehouse. And if you have warehouse, and you own those buildings,
it takes money.
You got to rent a building or have whatever, you know. I mean, I think some people don't even realize that, you know, companies have warehouses in the EU, they have warehouses in Hong Kong, they have, you know, to keep the product in that region, and it can ship from there, as opposed to like a main warehouse, say like in the US, and now we're having to ship, you know, somewhere far. So we definitely try to, you know, keep that stuff to keep the prices down, even though, you know, I know there's weird, I'm not too keen on all the shipping costs, but I know like shipping to like Canada and like some of these other
Shane can tell you.
I was gonna say I see it from afar when somebody talks about this is going to cost $300 to ship or something. I'm like, holy hell.
Well, it's almost unfair. It's like we think it's high, and then poor Shane is trying to order the same piece and it costs him double. You know what I mean?
I'm floored by it because, you know, it's I don't have to, you know, I mean, as a collector or being, you know, I don't have to, I'm totally kind of oblivious to that until you hear from, you know, when you get a collector from Canada or somewhere else and they're talking about how much they have to pay shipping. And it's like, yeek, you know, and I can't even imagine shipping on a Prime One or some of these other big companies from overseas. I'm like,
that thing right there. Was like almost $700 in shipping.
See, that's so. Right in my head, I'm like, wow, how many model kits can I build? Or
right.
Yeah, it's another statue. It's a premium format that I paid for just to get them here. Yeah. D3's got a quick question. Where'd it go? Hang on 1 second. Let me put this back up. So, not sure if you're able to answer this, but does Sideshow pay attention to the custom world? And make decisions based off of trends in the custom world? What do you think about that?
I mean, I'd be foolish to say that we don't know what's going on there. Now, there's so many, you know, quote unquote customs. I like to call them unlicensed. But that, you know, and they're not all good. But I think what happens is that they're supplying it, you know, fans gravitate to them because it's stuff that the major companies can't do.
There's no rule.
Might not want to do. No. You know, once again, licensors are the ones that have the say at the end of the day. You know, we could want to do all kinds of crazy things, but at the end of the day, if the licensor doesn't approve it, guess what? It's not going to get made, and that's where the customs kind of fall into play. But as far as like customs, you know, setting a trend or seeing, of course, you know, if I see something and there's something that's all a buzz, it's like, oh yeah, wow, look at this. But the funny thing about that is that I think from a collector standpoint, you know, customs, if somebody's sculpting, say, you know, who knows, a Batman or a Joker or whatever in the custom, you know, I'm just using those as a general thing. It's instant gratification for the customers to see what's going on. So as soon as somebody sculpts something digitally, they're throwing that thing out all over the web, and you're getting feedback, and everybody's like, oh my God, look at this. They're doing it right and they know what the fans want. Well, little do you know, behind closed doors,
you guys are saying the same thing. Yeah.
Been working on a piece for like a year and a half that is better or and I'm always going to say better, but that's the same character. And it's sometimes it's like, damn it, it's like, because what happens is the collectors think that somebody's got to jump on us and that we're the ones that are following the custom market and they're like, I've seen plenty of times where people go, well, Sideshow obviously seen that such and such did this, so they're doing this.
I hear that all the time.
And it's like, well, guess what? I wished we can get turnaround that quick to where we could react to something and go, well, we're doing it and it's out. But we have a line list of what we're doing, what is to come out in 2 years from now. And we're working stuff. Wow. So that kind of gives you an idea of how that kind of works out. But I mean, we definitely see what's going on, in the custom end of things. Yeah.
So it's safe to say in a nutshell, then it does, I wouldn't say impact what you guys are working on, but it's something that you guys do keep an eye on, obviously, because
we definitely keep an eye on it. And it can impact. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they are unlicensed pieces, and if you want to get into the nitty gritty of it all, we pay a license to make certain products, and other artists don't, and they're able to kind of get in there and do what they have to do, but or do what they're doing. But that's for somebody else to worry about, not necessarily me, so to speak.
Okay.
But we do look at it, and when I say we, it's usually the diehard guys, and myself. I'll be floating around, like a shark, looking and see what's going on, and if we have our meetings or whatever, I'm go, hey, guess what? Look at what's coming out, or we'll go, oh, look what hit. Wait till they see what we're doing, or whatever it may be. But you do see, it is definitely looked at. I mean, it's good data to have. You can't ignore it. If somebody's rant and raving about something specific that hasn't been done and it's coming out in a collector's thing, well, all right, let's give some consideration to doing something.
I got a question for you, Anthony.
Yeah, I was go ahead, Shane. Shane or KFET, you guys ask your questions. I want you guys to be able to answer or ask any questions you want. Go ahead.
It was up to you when Sideshow said, Anthony, you could pick, and you could pick any IP and any scale. What one would you want to tackle?
Good question. Yeah.
That's a tough one, because I I see that question getting floated around on various podcasts to people that are on it and stuff, and I always ask myself, I'm like, what would I do? I'm not a huge comic book person, even though I'm around it, and I'm more movie centric, monster, creature, original. I mean, if you look behind me, you see Frankenstein and Creature from the Black Lagoon and Iron Giant and everything. So that's a tough one, because if it would have been years ago, I would have said Alien, Predator, Pumpkinhead, those mainstays. Those are always been my thing, and they still are. But the thing is that you have companies like Prime One who are killing it with the Predator stuff. Unfortunately, that's more expensive than I can dish out for. I'd like to have just one, which would be
I'd like to have all of them, and they cost like $4,000.
I know, and I see them come through the warehouse.
Oh my God, have you seen one in real life?
Oh yeah, because we distribute. So when they come into the warehouse, they'll get pulled and inspected, or if something comes broke, so I'll go back there and I'll be looking around and I'm going, shit.
Yeah, man.
But I mean, so it would be that. I mean, Universal Monsters is my kind of my thing. I would love to see some more, kind of more characters based off of Universal and kind of go back to that license. But
so we're talking like Frankenstein, Wolfman, the Mummy.
Exactly, the classics.
That's more of your style. Is that what you like? You like
personally, that's what I like. I mean, for my collection, I was talking to Marco the other day, and I was telling him how, my collecting is Japanese resin model kits, and it's not anime or anything like that. It's more of the original, like their artists, Takia and Nirasawa, very creepy monster, kind of very original type stuff, like very kind of off the beaten path kind of things. And I've been collecting stuff like that forever, but it's because I used to build and paint model kits. So to me, that's how I got into it, because I was hands-on and it was more of building and painting. And then it kind of evolved into, when I started at Sideshow, I think I had 2 1/6 scale figures 20 years ago. And I always thought, like, 1/6, what is this?
Yeah.
Clothes, and these are like GI Joes and dolls and all this other stuff. And I was like, I knew guys that were passionate about it, but they were passionate on the military end of it, because what the military end brought to it is they were focused. The guys that were collecting were focused on the uniforms, so they were, and the sculpts and everything. But believe it or not, it really wasn't the sculpt; it was the uniforms and all the weapons and everything. That was where they were like really getting in deep on it. So then, like, say when Hot Toys decided to shift from military into movie characters, that detail came into the movie characters, and that's when my ears, peaked, popped up, and I was like, whoa. And then their quality got better, and I'm like, wait, these 1/6 pieces are pretty awesome, because there was a huge jump, and then next thing you know, I'm deep in collecting 1/6 Hot Toys stuff. And it was like right around when Iron Man hit, which kind of was the game changer for them, because when they started doing, when they did that first Iron Man 1/6, people couldn't believe they were getting the articulation and everything off of a hard, body piece, and the undersuit and the details, and then the paint took off from there. So I became a big fan, and I got tons of Hot Toys stuff, and I'm like, God dang it, I never collected this stuff. What happened? And then, working here at Sideshow, obviously, now I'm getting my hands on statues, because I was never collecting that stuff either when I started at Sideshow. It was strictly model kits. But within the 20 years, it's evolved into, it's more of what do I like visually, and as the aesthetics and artistically. So my collection is pretty all over the place. Whereas once again, you have collectors now that are, they collect certain scales, certain movies, certain only DC, only Marvel. I mean, I see, up there, Star Wars helmets, back there. So that's when I see these images, I'm like, he's obviously a Star Wars collector, and he has some very specific
Star Wars
one pieces back there. He
likes sequels more.
That's got a killer collection, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sabers and helmets. Yeah, that's great. Life size art too. Yeah.
Hey, Anthony, his favorite character is Rey. Stuff like
we don't need to go into the sequels, please.
He loves the sequels.
I'm with you. I'm not a sequel person. I mean,
I want to do
the original trilogy. So
what I want to do for a second here, guys, just to kind of keep a structure to everything. K-Fed, did you have any questions? And then for the people in the chat, if you guys got any questions for Anthony, because I kind of see questions coming in, I'll put a star next to it and I'll get to it. And Anthony, if that's okay with you, we'll go through these questions.
Yeah, but, sorry if I'm talking too much.
No.
It's okay. It's all right. But I just want to make sure everybody gets an opportunity, because it's very rare that we get to speak to somebody from Sideshow that deals directly with these pieces.
Yeah, no problem.
K-Fed, did you have anything you want to ask?
Yeah, so Anthony, I'm going to take it back to the artist standpoint. As the guys on the show and stuff know, I paint a lot of props and things like that.
Nice.
For my own personal collection. And back in the day, I was actually part of the group that worked on the 1-to-1 FET for Sideshow. So we did up the prototype. We sent it out.
I remember that, because there was a handful of people that were all over that thing, and that took. Yeah, there was a lot of juggling around on that. So I don't even know the entire team that worked on that, because at the time there was, I don't know, they were all over the place. Let's just say there was a lot of people involved, but that's awesome. I had no idea.
we got a good laugh at it because as an artist here, I'm working on like the chest plates and stuff like that, and I'm looking at the reference photos, and you'll paint some of the like perfect scratch marks or something. You're like, man, it's identical. It's the exact 1 inch. This is all exciting. And then you send it out to get mass produced, and it doesn't get replicated. I'm curious, do you fight for it when you see it come back at the shop, or do you
we fight for it?
I let it go. I let it go.
Yeah, no. So here's the, we definitely fight for it, and especially coming from running the paint department, which was my thing. It was even more of a badge of honor to try to get the paint to where it needed to be. But I mean, you could only imagine. And let me just back up to at least the FET question. FET is one of the hardest things to get through into production. At least back in the day, it was like. Yeah. There's technologies now that factories are utilizing, and different techniques that have kind of evolved throughout the years that allows them to kind of, and it's even various factories. One factory's paint work is going to be better than another factory's paint work, or whatever it may be. But the toughest thing for factories to replicate is organic type weathering or anything like. Because I mean, you as a painter, you know what goes into doing it, regardless of how you're doing it. Whether you're using stencils to be super precise, or if you're hand painting it, and like FET, there's like 3 layers of scratches that go in on that, yep. and it's like, okay, are you just going to paint the scratches, or are you going to do it? There's some people, myself included, if I'm doing personal stuff, where you start painting it in order of the paint to where it looks like it's gone through the paint layers. And it's just not a surface paint. But obviously production's not going to do that. They're not going to go and try to paint 3 layers of paint and remove a second one and then scratch the topmost one or whatever it may be. So what happens is they have to figure out a system to make it production friendly on their end, and not to bog it down or cost way too much money. So that's where you have to kind of juggle it around and try to see what works. And it's a tough thing to do, because there's and that 1-to-1 FET was so long ago. I mean, even when we look at it now, I mean, if you look at, like, say, the FET busts that we've done with Legacy, those paint jobs are much more intense and more accurate to the source than what we were doing back in the day. And if we were to do another 1-to-1 FET full figure or anything like that, you would definitely see a difference, an evolution of what's happened. And it's not because we're not trying to replicate, it's trying to get what the original one is out of production, out of overseas production. It's are they going to cut stencils? Are they going to hand paint? Are they going to what's happening over there? And that's why pre-COVID we were out there all the time, and it's tough because I always equate it, even talking, I was like, the struggle to get paint back in the day through is like, I don't think people realize what they have to go through on the lines to get to match that stuff. I think people collectors are a little numb to it because they see results from, like, whether it's a Hot Toys or a Prime One or whatever it may be, as far as paint goes, and they go, well, it could be done. And it's like, yeah, but you also have to think, it's like, I used to always tell if I was at Comic-Con or I'd be having these discussions, it's like, some of these overseas factories, first of all, they're out there in Asia, and they're able to go and be boots on the ground all the time. And if you're, like, say, a Chinese company, a Hong Kong company, or anything like that, if they're going into China, they can go in there and speak the language and communicate
a lot easier. Yeah.
So it would be like if we had factories in the US and we just, I'll go drive down to San Diego and go check the factory and make sure everything's on point. I guarantee you, we go in there, all we got to do is like, oh yeah, change this is wrong, this shading's off. Yep. And they'd be like, no problem, and they would give it back and be like, perfect, or no, change this, okay, no problem.
Yeah, it's a process.
Now, because I've been out there in China, and even though they have English speaking, managers and everything else, it's a tough thing to try to make sure, and then you leave, and
they ignored everything you said.
no, sometimes it seems that way, but you leave it, and then you have to wait for a sample to come back.
Right.
But
can't they hire somebody out there? Like, can they say,
we have QC guys out there that we deal with, but it's still, it becomes a whisper down the line, no matter, what you're doing.
Wow.
I mean, if you think about it, just actually think about the logistics that have to play out to get something like that done.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is a crazy thing, but just to roll back, we don't ignore it. We try our hardest, and it's sometimes when things don't match exactly, it's disheartening at times if it's really off base, and if it's really off base, then we go back in, and then that means that, all right, guys, fire up, and what happened here, and we gotta problem solve and figure stuff out. Other times, if it's something very slight in the overall grand scheme of it, and it doesn't affect the piece in general, then okay, we could sign off on it or whatever. The thing is when somebody like yourself that had hands on it, the piece intimately, and you're like, the scratch isn't where it belongs, and it's with any collector, there's a lot of collectors that are very and we have them internally. I mean, we have Bernardo, who's one of our painters that's been here for 19 years. Sometimes I got to shake him and go, snap out of it, because he's in the microscopic land, and I'm like, dude, the stuff that you're doing on that paint will never get replicated and
never translate.
On top of that, nobody nobody will know it's even there.
Exactly.
That's crazy. There's limits, man. There's limits to creativity then.
Yeah. It's so funny because I used to laugh because when we were doing stuff, and he's a big military guy, and he would be painting guns, and the joke was, always in paint, was that he had 10 shades of black that he used to, use, because he would just be, the gun is like a gunmetal black, but when he's painting it, he's like, oh, it's blued, or, and it has this and that.
You got to think about mass production.
You it's like, you're like, all right, snap out of it,
Right.
How many times, but yeah.
I just want to show this real quick. John from Everyday Collector. Happy Sunday, everyone. Great interview. Well, not that, but this. Really nice to see Sideshow Collectables representation on the streams. And I think that's a really good point. We don't necessarily, we see your live streams that you do from the headquarters and stuff, and your shows that you do, but to really speak to somebody and sit down and kind of understand, I think this, in my personal opinion, I think this will take a lot of flack off you guys when you do get, not that you get a ton of flack all the time, but a lot of statue companies do, but it would help kind of alleviate, okay, that makes more sense now. Now that you're explaining it to me, totally understand. You know what I mean? So it is good. I just wanted to bring up that point.
I got a question for you, Anthony.
Yep.
So as you know, a lot of collectors put their opinions on a piece that's shown, right? Whether it's constructive or whether it's just bitching because that's what people do. How does Sideshow determine whether they listen to the feedback and they make said changes that the community is talking about, or they say, no, even if we change it, they won't be happy. We're just going to keep it as is. And that was our original vision. Because like with your Psylocke, you guys did change the face, the portrait. Then people complained that it was even worse than your original. So, but what determines when Sideshow actually makes the changes or doesn't?
I think, that's a good question, because, to be honest, like I said, there's so much that goes into it on the front end. We're just not making haphazard decisions when we go into doing something. So then when it hits, especially, everybody has an opinion, and now with social being what it is and how it's evolved, everybody's a know-it-all, and everybody has a particular opinion, and that's great. I mean, you would be shocked at the opinions internally when we go through this. I mean, everybody's not always on board with, we might be on board with what's going on, but we'll nitpick it. And we'll, amongst ourselves go, this, that, or the other. But I mean, as far as, a piece that comes out, we full-heartedly put a piece out going, all right, we've made our choices and this is where it's at. But like you said, it doesn't always resonate with fans. And sometimes I've seen where it's like it's usually a knee-jerk reaction to certain things that people start generating, and then it snowballs. And so you got to give like a little bit of a cooling period, because it's easy for us to go like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, are we that out of touch that we're not seeing any of this? And me personally, my answer is no, we're not that out of touch. But it's also not that the fans are out of touch. It's just that they're passionate about it. They have an open forum to say whatever they want to say, and some groups, it's very cliquey, so it could really snowball into something that really isn't, I wouldn't say isn't relevant, but isn't as bad as what some people make it to be. And then the next thing you know, in a week, nobody's talking about it. 2 weeks, right, people start loving it. 3 weeks, everybody's on board, and all of a sudden you see people changing their minds and think it's the best thing ever.
Yep.
And it's like, we can't necessarily react off of off of that. But there are times where if we have the opportunity and we see things and we re-vet it and we go, you know what, maybe we did kind of not go in a direction that we maybe we could do something,
do something a little better. Yeah.
Right. Better, or give an option or whatever it may be. And
so it's more, if you hear the criticisms and there's enough of them and it makes sense to you guys, then you revisit it. That's
what I was gonna. That was where I was gonna end, because at the end of the day, it has to make sense. Can we do that? Because it's not like we can go back into production and jump start it again. Because when production is done with it, they're done with it. They got another project, whether it's from us or from another company or whatever, that's on their line. They run a tight boom, 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 boom. So in their head, when they're done with the statue, they're done with it. And to get back in there and go, hey guys, can we, you know what? We want to add a head that matches this. A lot of times they're like, they got to retrain their guys to even, it's not, you know what I mean? They're not like back on it and go, oh yeah, we've just painted this.
Right. I see what you mean.
Let's jump back on. They forgot about it. It's like, you'd be surprised sometimes how disconnected on a factory level, because they're workers and they are artists on the line. But at the end of the day, it's a job, so they're looking to get stuff out. But if we have time in production, and we can revisit, or we can get into the factory and bring a new head or change something, we'll definitely do it if we feel like it wasn't going well or whatever it may be.
Okay.
So Anthony, I'm curious, your team and all that, we'll treat you guys like professional athletes, since we've got playoffs going in NHL and the NBA right now. Do you guys often come out to channels? You don't have to name any channels like ours or whatnot, when you have pieces that are about to debut and stuff like that, to really see what people are saying? Or you're like, you know what? I don't need that in my head right now. I feel confident with this. I don't need the negativity if that's what's going to come from it.
Well, it's funny because I was talking to Marcos about this as well. Being here so long, in the paint room, it was different, because we were kind of early on. We used to stay off of but the forums and everything. There was only a couple big forums like Statue Collector and 1/6, because the criticism was so like harsh.
Yeah,
we didn't get our feelings hurt. It used to get in there and it used to trigger some people, like to the point to where they're going to get online and they're going to want to defend, and which is, of course, but I mean, as a company, you can't go in there and have your employees going in there and
right, you can't,
cyber battles and creating drama, because all that's going to do is
make the company look bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
we'll give your PR team some work.
Yeah, and it was kind of, And we would definitely find ourselves in hot water,
Yeah. That you don't want to go there. Yeah.
Kind of telling people, go, you know what? Well, fuck you. What do you know about any of this? And
You
then
talking about?
next thing you
That's
know,
a shame.
you get called up to the principal's office, and they're going like, "What are you doing? You know better than that. So, but to answer your question, we definitely go on there. As of late, meaning, I don't know, the past year, I've been checking out all the various forums. I mean, we have people that watch these, but me, for my personal, just so I know, going into meetings and being on the product end and on the development end, I want to see what's going on, because then that helps me get into the meetings and go, hey guys, because let's be honest, everybody here has a life, except for me, apparently, because I don't have kids, I'm not married, so if I'm hanging out, I don't have a girlfriend, I leave work or whatever, and I'm just chilling out, just being a nerdy dude, and I'm like, hey, what's on? And I click on the TV and my YouTube pops up. The algorithms start throwing up all these podcasts that I've been watching, so they're right there, and I'm like, I'll just leave that on. And I've started to get back into the habit of watching it, and I think it's a little bit easier because I'm not painting to, even though it's harsh when I hear somebody just go, man, that piece sucks and whatever. But I mean, I know how it is. I've been in it for 20 years. So it bounces off of me, but it's not. I do look at that stuff and go back and go, hey, you know what? The buzz that's going on.
But you do feel it, though, man. I mean, course. You're human. You feel it. So damn, dude.
That's with anything.
Oh, and come on, Anthony. You're in the shower, rocking back and forth in the fetal position, crying. We're sorry, man.
No. It doesn't go quite that way. I mean, I would expect, if everybody was happy with everything, I'd probably be a little bit more worried if everybody was just saying, this is the greatest piece ever. This is the greatest piece ever. And I'm like, well, somebody's full of shit, because I don't even think this is the greatest piece ever. But yeah, we do look at all that stuff. And I kind of think of it as almost like going down on Christmas morning when a piece hits, because I want to see what everybody, when they open up their package, so to speak, when they're seeing what's coming up, I want to see their reaction. And it's valuable, because when you get somebody who's ecstatic and loves something, it gives you that good feeling to go, all right, we everything was worth it. But then you get somebody who goes, I don't know, or you get somebody who goes, I like it, I wouldn't buy it. Okay, fine. But
yeah. I mean,
it's all it's all good at the art subject.
Yeah. You got those guys that complain about it 24/7. They being no money.
And who's
not gonna buy it.
It's easy to see who the guys are, or people are that just like to cause shit and just like that are super negative all the time, because you see it. There's a pattern of it. There's a pattern of it.
At the same time, we gotta remember, right? At the end of the day, and Anthony's given us a lot of valuable information. Yeah. But at the end of the day, right? Even if Anthony, and I know he understands this, if he wasn't working for Sideshow, we are very passionate collectors. If you look behind most of us, we got shit that we spend our hard-earned money on. So it's almost like they're allowed to say what they want to say, but there is a fine line where it's like, all right, buddy, lighten up a little bit. Yeah. You're being.
I'm the same way. I mean, with model kits and everything else amongst my model buddies and everything, we talk shit. We just don't put it out on forums for everybody to grapple onto and cause a tidal wave of
drama,
whatever. We're usually on the phone or whatever, and it's like, man, do you see that? This kit or this sculpture, and it's like, wow, that thing sucked, but we're not going out on forums going,
Well, look, I'm in marketing, and one thing I'll say about anyone's product is, whether they're saying something negative or saying something positive, the fact that they're talking about the product is always a good thing for you. 1,000%. It's when that apathy sets in and they don't say anything about it anymore.
Then that's why I said
that's probably the worst thing to happen. Yeah.
I mean, I've went to forums where I'm like, a new piece has come out, and I'm like, I can't wait.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did the link not go out? Because nobody's talking about it. Like, how did nobody grapple onto this? And then
they're not even talking shit about this. What the hell is going on here?
Talk all the shit you want. Anthony and I, Jesse, Daniel, we got a list of who we're gonna jump as soon as we walk into that room.
It's funny.
This is it, dude.
Statuecon is a trap, actually. We're just
It's a
getting
trap
guys
for all you
talk
guys.
together. Yeah.
I seen on one of the previous podcasts where there was talk about all that because it was discussions about the Batman, which was highly the one that Martin had done.
Mhm.
And I seen everybody joking around about that. And they're like, oh, let's see who tells Martin that to his face. And
Yeah, that's
Walkman, and it's going to be the red wedding and all this.
Serious. It's not that serious.
That sounds like
Let me tell you, you should give your, you know, I think it's important to be respectable and then give your honest opinion, but you still give constructive feedback. You don't want to give passion. So I get it.
It's all about constructive feedback, you know.
All right. Let me ask some of these questions real quick so we can knock some of them out here. So nice guy. I want to see Sideshow tackle a new Black Cat or Silk Cindy Moon. Want some female heroes in the Spidey family. What do you think about that?
That's it. I don't know what's. I mean, anything could happen. We definitely have some additional female figures coming. But the thing is you know, females always sell. So, yeah. I mean, who knows? I can't really say too much about.
Who's Silk? Who's Silk Candy Moon? Who's that?
Oh, Silk is another Spider Man character. She's
that one. I'm not even familiar names. Okay, all right. Wow.
That's okay. Nice guy's just thirsty. That's all. That's all. You gotta give him some eye candy.
Got some thirst in him. No, we're just kidding. Nice guys. So another question from D3: how does Sideshow decide when to fully reveal statue? A bunch of pieces that were teased during 12 days still haven't been revealed. When pieces teased after have went up for PO?
Right. That's a great question.
Yeah, I see people asking that all the time, you know, and I can't 100% answer that because that's a marketing thing. But I mean, we do because even when we do, you know, when we're in development and we finish a prototype or whatever it may be, and we photograph it and our job is done, we're like, go get it up there. You know, we're the engine's revving up. It goes into, you know, there's a whole plan with marketing and the web and everything else, how they're showing these things. And so it's like kind of in their hands. But as far as, you know, sometimes if there's seems to be like a delay or whatever, I think they gear it towards like their social media reveals, because it's always been like, we reveal a little bit like a tease, like, you know, everybody knows the tease and might show a hand or a silhouette or a CG. And then it goes into the full piece. But I think, you know, the teases help generate interest.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all about hype, because it's like, do you want to, you know, just blow it all in one, you know, shot and just show the piece, which as anybody, including myself, everybody wants to see it, you know, But I mean, there's a little cat and mouse fun to like, it's coming, pay attention. Because
Anthony, it helps people decide. It helps people plan and decide.
Yeah,
like,
but
hey, I was just going to spend my money on this.
Right.
Let me go ahead and save it because I want to see what this is going to do first. So I think it's a smart strategy, and it helps collectors at the same time.
And I think we all have to be cognizant of. I think what happens is that as collectors and serious collectors, and you know, everybody here and some of the other collector forums, I think sometimes we get a little myopic or a little acute to like thinking we're the only ones that are into this stuff. Like, you know, we're the people. But it's like, guess what? We can pop up data, you know, that shows who are first buying customers, who never, you know, who are hitting the site, you know, and you'd be amazed at the influx of people that are buying stuff that aren't hardcore.
Oh, that's
mega collectors.
That's my focus. It's casual.
It has to be, because if you're not bringing new people in,
right,
you're gonna have the hardcore guys that have everything.
That's it,
and don't want you know, that
they complain about everything.
Yeah, they're gonna be very particular about like, this ain't my Batman, this isn't my Superman, this isn't my Joker, and then we release something, they're like, why are they doing this again?
So you would say Sideshow is more focused on the newer collectors, obviously, but they
that's every company.
I think it's a balance. It has to be a balance, because if we negate hardcore collectors, well, you know, that's not good either, because, you know, they're the ones that are that are
They're
that
gonna
are
give
there
you the
that are
money.
maybe
Yeah,
collecting and spending
we'll
it.
pay
But
for
I
it.
mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, you also flip. I mean, we always used to be surprised when we used to go to Comic-Con how many people would come up and go, "What's this Sideshow? Who are you guys?"
Yeah.
So it's easy the same way as like collectors, the same way as a company to go like everybody knows Sideshow, and then you realize there's a majority of people don't know shit about any of this. They've never
Right.
seen it. They don't know
Right.
The average person. Yeah.
Right. But
Right.
those average people they're still, I wouldn't say average, but they're nerds or
Clean slate.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
are,
Clean
I
slate.
mean, yeah.
that
Right.
are coming into the marketplace, and you definitely want those because you know you want new blood because that's what's going to facilitate and keep things rolling. You know, you get some people that are hardcore collectors, and you go, "I'm checking out. I'm done with this.
Right.
I ran out of space."
You can't put all that. You can't
It's a
put all your
balance,
eggs in
isn't it?
one
He's
basket
right.
with them.
Yeah,
Right.
you get guys leaving. You have to have new people coming in, and that's kind of one of the things. I know we're getting a little bit off the topic, but
That's all right. That's all right. Let's.
Anthony, you said also
ahead.
that there's
Marco.
stuff that you worked on that they don't reveal like a year
Oh, yeah.
and change, right? Yeah.
I mean, pieces that we work on take at the very least 8 months to get
Yeah,
people
think
out.
about that.
The very least.
Wait, say
And that's
went from conception to from the design thought
right.
to the
Into,
end. Is how
into
long?
starting to go into production.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I mean, a sculpture could take, anywhere from, depending on who's doing it and how.
Let's just use a premium format for example, like a premium format that is.
Do the penguin. He did. Do the penguin.
Yeah, I mean, to get that from concept, I mean, it depends because sometimes we have these concepts that are early on and that we sit on until we find the right time to act on them and get a sculptor and play and move them through development. But I mean, it could take anywhere 8 months to over a year to get those things, and that doesn't even mean out of overseas production.
Just the process of it.
Yeah, that penguin that's the one I want to hear because
Yeah, you got
done. It's a character that everybody wanted.
Right.
How
that was what I
decide?
was pushing for. I can pat myself on the back because I was like, why haven't we, like when you ask like, do you guys, how do you come up with characters? I mean, I'm like, where's Penguin? Where's Riddler? Where the same questions that everybody else is asking.
There you go.
But it's not
yeah.
one single entity making those calls. We have to get the team in and we have to look at our line list. I mean, there are line lists of pieces that we need to have those line lists approved by licensors. We can't just like, we're going to make this and throw it into the middle of the year because it's like, no. That's not how this works, from a licensor's end of it. So even if we wanted to go like, hey man, all the hype is about Penguin, let's get a Penguin in this year. It's like, no, that'll never happen. We would have to have Penguin in development prior to any of that. So it's not a knee-jerk reaction like I think a lot of people think we can just make something.
Hey Anthony, you talked about earlier about kind of grabbing onto that new audience as they're coming up and stuff. And the guys on this channel and stuff know I've made this comment before, but I've got an 18 and 20-year-old at home, and they're all about the anime world. They could care less about anything else that dad is into from the 80s and 90s. Yep. Are you guys? I know some of your partners that you work with that, of course. No, tell me about it. I'm like, yeah. You want to talk anime? Let's talk Voltron. Come on, that kicks ass.
Yeah, exactly.
But, do you guys feel like in 5-10 years maybe Sideshow starts looking over the fence and maybe dipping into some of that stuff too?
Oh yeah, I mean we've already done that, and we have some stuff coming out.
Excellent.
In the
Is
future.
there anything that you can mention or no?
No.
Yeah, I don't want to get you in
kill
trouble.
you.
I don't want to get you in trouble.
Trust me. No, I can't mention it, but we definitely have our eye on that. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to go
anime
and video games.
Huge.
Especially with how the Marvel movies have kind of whether you like them or you don't. I think we all know. And same thing with Star Wars on where, some of these franchises have went, whether you're a fan or, not. I mean, I love Andor. I think Andor is the best thing that came out of that.
I really liked it too.
And then you go like this, where's all the Andor product?
Yeah. Right.
Nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah, even Hot Toys didn't do any of that.
That's
So
crazy.
that ought to show you kind of where studios and licensors' heads are
Look how
regarding.
awesome is that from a project manager from Sideshow?
Yeah, I mean,
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, let's get through some of these questions real quick. Just because we got a handful of questions, I want to make sure we got enough time to answer some of the guys in the chat. So John Connor has a question: how does Sideshow decide which pieces to distribute? Predator and Terminator were available, while Alien were not.
Meaning distribute made by us, I guess, or distribute
You're talking about Prime
by
One.
other people.
You're talking about Prime One. You're talking about Prime One.
Yeah,
Like the
I mean, it
Alien didn't go
depends.
through.
I mean, it really is. If it's coming, say, like from Prime One,
It's like purchasing or something.
Prime One's going to have a say in that. You know,
Okay.
they're going to be like, well, we want to keep that in Japan, or we want to keep that Asian market. We're not going to offer that to you guys.
Right.
Oh, I see. Okay,
You
so
know.
they'll kind of pick and choose what they.
That's how all the companies are. It's like, well, you know, we're just not going to distribute everything. They want to hang on to stuff they feel can be more beneficial, because, you know, distributions, you have deals and there's money cut, and they don't want to lose money at the table. So if they feel, you know, there's something stronger that they can hang on to, then, so, you know, that's their call. So
Mitch has got a question here. Is there any chance of Sideshow revisiting the Predator biomass again in the future?
Never say never. I mean, like I said, I'm a huge Predator fan. The only thing is how many biomasks can you make? And are we talking from the movies, or are we talking originals? Because early on, we did those. I mean, we worked with Steve Wang, who worked with the original movies. He did some originals. We had we had done the Predator 2 mask. We'd worked with ADI to do all the ones from the prequels, and those were all coming from the companies that did the actual props. But, you know, with the Alien Predator, and there you have other companies that have done them, like Hollywood.
Yep, Hollywood.
Collectables has.
You guys think you'll dabble again into it, or?
I think it would. I don't know. I don't. Like I said, never say never. But I think the marketplace, this just coming from me personally, is kind of.
I wouldn't.
As far as that go, because that's like.
So it's possible, but maybe not likely. It's possible.
Yeah, and the only way would be is if there was a new Predator movie that came out, and it was
like the Pharaoh biomask or something.
Right.
Okay.
Something, and I think somebody might even be doing one of those, but yeah. It would have to really be impactful.
As your PR rep, I'm just watching how you're answering. You're doing just fine. Don't worry. You're sticking to your talking points.
I don't want to.
Yeah, it really is.
Come Tuesday when I get in, I don't want to go, hey, it's not Wendy. You're on some podcast giving away.
Anthony, can you come up to my office for a second? Just a quick chat. No, Anthony, this is good stuff. I don't think you're getting yourself in trouble. You obviously know your limitations. So, right. But just let us know if we need to move on from the topic we discuss. All right, D3, I think we answered this question already. The answer to that is yes, periodically.
We had pre-COVID was the most involved we were sending people out there every few months to China. And they were at the factories. And like I said, I've been to those factories early on when I was in paint. I was there all the time, and it's yeah.
So I think Marcos and maybe the other guys know a little bit. I know how it is to deal with factories overseas. I had an import-export business for a long time. And,
exactly.
You can, I've learned a lot from my mistakes on a small run of I won't say what it was, but it was like a run of something for 500 units.
Right.
And it was a small run.
Right.
And 30% of it was fucked up.
Yeah.
30%. I mean, it cost me thousands of dollars. So I get it.
It's quite the learning experience when you go overseas.
Inspections are everything.
It used to be back in the day where, there was a handful of us going out to the factories and seeing how it worked. And I was on one of the first groups that went to the factories. Prior to that, nobody had, and this was 20 years ago, had went into the factories. They were dealing with reps and everything else. Yeah. But going in there and seeing the process firsthand, it really
opens your eye.
It's an eye opener. And it used to be where when I came back, when a few of us came back, it was like going off to war. It was like you come back and you go, And you have no idea what I seen out there. And it's like you try to explain it, and it was always like, you guys need to go get out there and see what, because you assume and you think
Yeah.
you won't know until you get out there and you go, no wonder why this, that, and the other isn't working, or
Very
no wonder why we thought this was a good idea and we can never get the results we want, and it's all of a sudden you get eureka moments and you're out there on the line and seeing how things work and go, well, no wonder they're using the wrong paint or the wrong it could be the simplest things that you assume are being handled, and then you see it, what is going on here,
John, the Everyday Collector, has a question here for you. How does Sideshow go about determining the edition size of a product? And then the subset to that is, and will you continue to try to incentivize collectors to pre-order early on new releases? Example, timed exclusives. That's a good question.
Yeah. Once again, I mean, I can't answer that completely. Once again, we have a full marketing. They got their whole game plan set. But I mean, as far as, the thing I could, regarding edition sizes, I mean, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like, they look at numbers and sales and everything that kind of comes into play. But also on some of the things, sometimes we keep things evergreen, because if it's a popular character, and I know from a collector standpoint, edition size, and when I say collector, I mean somebody who really is like, well, I got a low number, or I don't want anybody else having this, or I want it to hold its value. There are some pieces there that we decide are going to be evergreen because we know, and when I say evergreen, meaning we might not put a number or we put it really high because we know people are going to want them. Like, it doesn't make sense to clip something that, that people want. I mean, it's a fine line. I mean, we can't just make everything, huge additions and then everybody's like, I'll wait till it's on the secondary market.
You never want to sit on a bunch of inventory. Yeah, it's terrible.
Exactly. So it's a real, there's decisions made all the time. And a lot of that works with on the front end, what are we seeing coming from? That's where those sneak previews and teasers come into play, because if we don't see people reacting, or like the RSVP, when we say RSVP now for,
I see, yeah,
for information or whatever,
an idea
that generates numbers. If nobody's RSVPing,
it's all data.
Nobody gives a shit.
Data. Yeah.
So it's like, is that going to mean that we're going to make a gajillion of these things if nobody's paying attention? The worst case scenario is if that people don't necessarily react, and we keep an edition size low, and then boom, it's gone. And we're like, oh, we left money at the table.
Yeah, I know. That's probably the worst feeling.
Yeah, and we left collectors wanting. And that's when sorry, we ran out. But, next year we're going to have a different Joker or a different Batman, so, and, maybe it's something better than what people wanted, or maybe it doesn't resonate. I mean, it really is an ebb and flow of it's of how things work.
Anthony, one thing Sideshow did listen to feedback from me specifically was way less exclusives. Okay, and that was something that I was like, look, we're pumping out X amount of units, and yes, direct sales are always the best. I get it, but with that's, you just talked about limiting yourself. If you limit yourself to that, and all of a sudden it doesn't move too much, but you have one retailer going, hey, I could move 50, 60 of these suckers. So that's one thing I've noticed too, less exclusives, which is appreciated.
And that's another weird ebb and flow as well. It's like, I think a lot of times does it justify going into production with an exclusive? Because exclusives don't happen for free. If you're adding another portrait or whatever it may be, I mean, the portrait's always the toughest piece to produce. If you botch a portrait, you kind of botch a piece. So if you add another portrait or something in there, is it going to justify, doing that? And then the fans go, I don't like that portrait, or I like this one, or give me this one, or it's always kind of It's a weird thing, is what I could say. I mean, there's the decision gets made once again by admin and kind of, out of my wheelhouse. More of it is like we'll discuss it and we'll go, here's an option that we can do if they want to do an exclusive or whatever. And once again, those usually are a retail thing, or it brings people into direct sales into Sideshow's site. So it's, I don't know if that really answers anything.
No, it does. It
Yeah.
does. We got a quick question here. This is actually one of my buddies. This is a good friend of mine and that lives in my area. He wants to know. He's been dying. He is really dying for the Iron Studios exclusive. I guess the Magneto with the beam going through the Sentinel's face. Is there any word on anything about when that's going to be released?
On that, I have no idea.
They didn't make it, Anthony.
Yeah,
I mean, they make it.
They're just
we distribute, so it's like I have no idea. I know there's a possibility of a Magneto coming up, but I know it's not Iron Studios, so I'll leave it at that.
Casual's got a good question here. Anthony, is silicone the future, or is polystone staying around forever?
Personally, I don't think silicone's the future, so to speak.
Here.
It's expensive. It is what it is. I mean, mainly expensive, and I don't want to say it's gimmicky. It definitely has its spot out there. But I mean, I remember when, if you guys remember CinemaCat, they were the first ones to do silicone and punch hair and everything, and God bless them for trying, but man, that was a tough thing, and they were pretty subpar. But where the silicone stuff is at now is pretty incredible. But you don't see anybody from the States doing that. You see them; they're all, overseas. But the thing is, that's a whole different, like, it's almost like a subgenre of collecting that stuff, because I see a lot of people not like, that are hardcore statue guys that don't like it. But the thing is you get guys that are more focused on like effects type stuff. So that stuff comes from more of like an effects industry, where it's like they're generating stuff for movies, punched hair, glass eyes, translucent silicone, unless you're looking to get a sex doll or something, then it's then that's a whole other genre. But
me and Shane have been talking about it the whole time. We're waiting to see what's going to get released. So
yeah, it's funny because we years ago when we did Nosferatu bust, I don't know if anybody was collecting back then when we were doing 1-to-1 bust. We ran one in silicone just for shits and giggles to see what we can get out of the factory, and it was pretty awesome. But it weighed a ton, and the price and everything, they're like, there's no way. It was more of like one piece for internal to have, just in Sideshow and proof of life to see what it would take, and that was well over 10 years ago. But I don't know, some of this stuff that I think it's a lot of it is, I think the factories are looking for everybody's looking for something new, so it's like, all right, I mean, it's not by just happenstance that you see all these people all of a sudden, all these factories doing silicone and punched hair. I mean, rooted hair is all the rage now. Even Hot Toys are doing, rooted hair options. But I mean, that's a slippery slope.
Anthony, what do you think about articulated statue?
Articulated statue.
Yeah, there's one out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, slightly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're talking about the Hulk type one. I mean, I've never seen that stuff in person, so it's hard to say.
Yeah.
You run into there's a lot of issues that could happen with something like that. Like, what if the articulation gets wonky inside? If it dislodges or a joint breaks,
put it back,
you're done. Now you don't have an articulated. You have something in a weird pose, or I mean, we did stuff like that when we first did our Universal monsters in PF. the bodies were like almost like plush bodies, and they had wire armature in them, and you could kind of bend them into shape slightly, which was, that was 20 years ago. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if the collectors are geared for that. I think they want fixed pose. And that's just me, that's what I'm seeing. I think it would be a little much. People would start freaking out if all of a sudden their statues had to be engineered, because that's a tough thing to do. Because if you articulate, the anatomy has to react, and everything else. You can't just articulate an arm and the shoulders and everything stay the same way, and you got some kooky, weird thing where the rest of the body isn't shifting with it. So that's what 1/6 is for.
All right, I'm going to try to get through. Guys, we're running out of time a little bit here just because I'm talking to the chat here and everybody else. But I'm going to try to answer some of these questions pretty quick, or if Anthony could just try to cover.
I'll do it short.
No, it's fine, Anthony. I know it's
speed round.
We'll do a speed round. Let's do a speed round. Just because I want to be able to get everybody in here, okay, if we can. And if I didn't get to your question, I apologize. But Mitch, is there any chance of Sideshow doing Dune pieces?
I wished. I love those two movies. We don't have any plans to do anything. There's companies like Prime One and some other ones that are doing that have
Blizzway.
Yeah, they have some awesome pieces that are on the front and we'll be distributing. I hope to get my hands on some of them maybe, but we don't have any plans right now to do it.
Okay.
I just got a couple quick questions for you, Anthony.
Yeah,
any plans for Sideshow to get into Transformers G1?
That's a good question.
None that I know of. So yeah.
And now we're sad.
But hey, then I could go, hey, in the next meeting I go, hey, are there any plans for Sideshow to get into Transformers in my next meeting? And they might go, oh, funny you should ask.
Yeah.
For Star Wars, I know you guys do the Mythos line and you do the 1/4 scale. When you continue your Star Wars line, can we expect to see any Knights of the Old Republic, any kind of characters from that line, or is it going to be more from the prequel, sequels, and original trilogy?
Never say never. I can't really. We got some cool stuff coming up.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And my last question for you, really quick. Overall, what's your favorite Sideshow piece ever produced and your favorite non-Sideshow piece ever produced?
Oof. That's a hard one. Let me think about that, and you could continue.
Sure. Come back to it.
Yeah.
That penguin's pretty cool, by the way.
Penguin is. I do love that, and it's probably because I worked on that one. I do love that. Even internally, I was like, "Holy shit, this came out great!"
It did,
and that pretty much resonated throughout the building. When we seen it, and all the little the water and underneath, and the monocle, and it just worked out. And Maria's sculpt is awesome.
Yeah.
So that is one of the ones. But I mean, it depends. If I go way back, I still have a soft spot in my heart for Pumpkinhead and Predator maquettes that were done with Stan Winston Studio. The 1-to-1 alien bust from Aliens, not Alien. I mean, those things were awesome.
Yeah, they were really cool.
Hey, Anthony, you might want to take back to your marketing team. We want to see more videos of you guys painting up these pieces. I think I geeked out on so many of those on YouTube.
I love those. I love those, and I'm even a bit jealous because at the time they never did that when I was working back there, and I'm like, man, what is this? Everybody's getting everybody's a damn star now back here in the paint room, and nobody even knows. I stop watching them, and I'll tell. I'll
Please
go back
do.
and tell.
Well, I knew you were in the business for a while because I was doing a little bit of research and I saw some of you. You had like a couple YouTube videos of
the old
when
ones.
Sideshow was previewing you, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, 12 years ago. How long has he been working with the
I
company?
always cringe when I look at those, but
No, it was good.
There's a smattering of videos of me blabbing and talking.
Yeah.
There's a newer one. There's a newer one. Him sitting there with Daniel.
Yeah, that one was fun. The round table was fun, but that was me as project manager, artist back in there.
So Dinesh has got a really good question: is Sideshow coming or going back, or is going to come back to San Diego Comic-Con?
That's I don't know. I mean, right now we're focused on Sideshow Con, and just like a lot of companies, post COVID. I mean, COVID really kind of reset a lot of things within the industry as far as like San Diego Comic-Con, and I mean a lot. With utilizing social media and Zoom and all the assets, it really shined a light to where it's like, look what we can do without having to hit some of these places. And even the attendance, a lot of people weren't going, so it's like how can you justify spending so much money
It's crazy
out to these shows and people aren't showing up or whatever it may be, and you could control the narrative and show what you want to show and be more focused by doing stuff like Sideshow Con. Even though, I mean, it is a fun event, and it was the largest event for us where you can actually see physical pieces. So if you made the trek to the show, I mean, it was paid off in spades
for me. Well, for me to do that,
yeah,
I was telling you, for me to do that, it cost me over $4,000.
Well, think about us.
3 days.
We had
For
the
3
second.
days.
We had the second largest booth there for years.
Wow.
Crazy.
And the amount of stuff, if any of you guys went to San Diego, the amount of stuff we would bring and the logistics of setting up and tearing down and crating
but not only doing that and paying the employees to get all that
the hotels and I mean we were booking whole levels of hotels for floors because of everybody. So, and we'd have to do that right after the con ended and commit to it. There's just a lot of money that the thing that facilitated is that we're in Southern California and the con was in San Diego, so we could drive a lot of stuff down with our trucks. But I mean, we do New York, but we never hit New York the way we did San Diego.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
well,
never
guys,
say never, but it doesn't look like there's any.
Definitely this year they won't be there. Yeah,
we're gonna focus on Sideshow Con.
And any chance on GI Joe, Sideshow 1/4 scale GI Joe line?
I mean, we did do that years and years ago, but we don't have anything on the table for that. I think that's kind of. There's been some other companies that have filled that gap, so for us to go in there to retable that. But I mean, once again, never say never. I mean, it could come back up in a.
Well, with the next movie coming out, going to be Transformers GI Joe crossover. Who knows?
Yeah, like I said, who knows what's on the table?
How many? I'm just curious. Does Sideshow, and I don't know if you're allowed to answer this question, but does Sideshow have one big main warehouse in the States, or is there a couple different ones that kind of help with shipping?
We have a few. Yeah, we have a few. Okay. Our main ones are right. I mean, we have.
Are they mostly on the West Coast, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and to be honest, I'm not 100% sure. We might have something on the East. I think we do. I think we have some stuff on the East, but I mean. When I think warehouse, I mean, we like to call it Sideshow Campus because we have like 6 buildings right around together where I'm at right now. So we have a huge warehouse across the street. We have a warehouse here in the building I'm in, and then we have various satellite warehouses around me. But our main shipping warehouses, like I think there's one on the East Coast and overseas.
We'll wrap up with this question here. Anthony, where do you see the hobby in 20 years? Less or more statue companies, better or worse shipping pipeline, etc. What's your opinion on that?
Let me see. Let me get the envelope here.
Okay, Johnny.
Yeah, let's see. I need a big turban.
You don't know that, Anthony? What do you mean?
I know. I mean, to be honest, I mean, I think there might be less statue companies just because I know what it takes to get into, for a company to start up and be successful. And I don't think there's a lot of companies that are willing to, or a lot of people that are willing to, or even have the know-how to jump into it, especially in the digital age and everything else. It really depends on the collectors. I see it in the model kit community and everything else where, digital is kind of reigning supreme and the talent is shifting different ways. So it's going to make it difficult, and let's be honest, anybody who has kids or anything, I can pretty much guarantee you they're not building models and they're not into statues. They're into video games and everything else, So once talking shit to their parents for collecting statues and whatever else. So it's like eventually that's going to continue to evolve. And once again, you see that in the model kit, like whether it's styrene or resin. That's the reason there's no hobby shops around anymore. Nobody's building car models and tanks like they are. The ones that are building them are old guys like us or older. But you don't see young kids getting into any of that stuff. And, eventually, just like anything else, you're going to have a turnover and the young kids are going to be old people. And if they're not collecting that stuff, but hopefully it'll still be around for a while, because I don't see myself retiring anytime soon. So,
yeah. All right. Last question for sure on this one. Any other pieces?
Someone else put the question.
Any other pieces planned in the legacy line? It was great to show so much love towards Clint Eastwood. Anything there?
Are they talking about Clint Eastwood line, or is it?
No, I think like just maybe a different character.
Yeah, because I think the line, if they were saying legacy line, that was what we used for the Clint Eastwood line. We haven't.
Okay.
We haven't necessarily
to Clint Eastwood then.
There's some stuff still
in the works.
That'll still be coming out. Yeah, that was awesome. Everybody was beside themselves with the.
That was great.
Stuff.
All right. Well, I mean, we pretty much hammered you with questions for 2 hours, and we
on
appreciate
Sunday morning too.
Yeah.
You guys are like way ahead of me. I think I'm the earliest.
Yeah, we're in the future.
Where's everybody from, actually?
K-Fed is in
Dallas.
Texas.
Dallas. Okay.
Shane's in Canada.
Okay.
Yep. And then I'm on the East Coast.
Okay, so you're on the East Coast.
Yeah. Yep. I'm in the Philadelphia area. Yep.
Okay. All right.
But we appreciate you taking the time. Do you guys want to say any last words? K-Fet, Shane, Marcos?
Yeah, I just want to talk about Constructive Outrage this Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
Throw that thumbnail up.
Yeah, let me do
So
that.
this Wednesday, we're doing our Cockfest show. It's the party show we do at the end of the month. We got a full panel, 10 guys on. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we're also doing the Collector Zone $50 giveaway on Wednesday. So tune in. It should be a good time.
That's the session where we're going to be real critical about Sideshow, right? So Anthony, please tune in.
Yep, I'll be tuning in. I'll be like, let's see what these guys fucking say about me.
Yeah.
So we got the usual crew coming on.
Look at this guy.
What did AI do to me? I mean,
Look at this guy.
That's good.
You do know this is what AI was all made for.
Who said Shane looks like Fat Joe?
That's what it's made for. Right here.
Yeah. I love it.
Who said Shane looked like Fat Joe?
Yeah, that's so good.
Oh, that's great. I don't know why the hell I'm wearing a pink fur coat, but
all
that's
right,
cool.
yeah.
Oh,
That looks just like you, man. That's you, man.
yep.
But
It's
yeah,
gonna be a good time.
you guys check it out. These guys put a lot of work into their lives, and it's always a great show. Crippler runs that show. Shane's part of that show too, and me and K-Fet visit on a regular basis. So
Yeah,
go check out.
I've been watching that show for the past couple months. I get a kick out of it. The first time I was,
have you?
Yeah, the first time I was watching, I was like, man, who are all these guys talking shit? But then and then I listened to it, and I'm like, all right, because.
So Anthony, are you saying you're a member of the Cock Nation? You got a Cock
I don't know if I'm a member, but I do watch it. But the funny thing is at first knee-jerk reaction, I'm like, man, there's a lot of shit talking here. But the more you see it, it's like, okay, it's a bunch of guys hanging out, because at the end of the day,
Yep.
there is constructive criticism, regardless.
Absolutely.
There's some personalities that might be stronger than others, but I'm like, I was telling some of the guys, I go, you should watch this stuff, because right away they want to have a knee-jerk reaction and go like, man, all they're doing is talking shit. And I go, no. I go, if you watch the episodes, it'll come full circle.
Like we make jokes. We're very blunt. We're very raw. We're unfiltered. But everything we do is meant to be in a constructive, positive way.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then we have fun with it along the way.
Yeah, I see it. I definitely see it, because if it was all just bitching and moaning, I would have checked out of it a lot.
I would have checked out too. I would not even be on the show.
These guys are.
It's funny. It's funny because Shane's part of that show and this show. Me and K-Fed are obviously like we're all part of this show, but that's kind of like that's kind of like where everybody could just let their hair down and do whatever and
I
say
noticed
whatever.
there's a lot of like cross pollination going on with because they'll come on and I'm like, wait, which fucking show am I watching? Did it on last night? Like, how are they doing? Are they doing shows every day out of the week? Like, this is insane. You guys have no life. And then I realized, like,
in the end, Anthony. And in the end, though, a lot of those guys from this show and that show will be at Statuecon.
Yeah. Sure,
you want me to hit? We'll take a hit off one of them. Just let me know. You point. You blink 3 times. He's gone. Disappear.
That dude right there. That's the one.
Take over.
Let me put him on the big screen.
No.
Let me do a screenshot on my computer.
Pick on the one Canadian coming. I see.
No, it's all good. Right. Like I said, it's if you only knew half the stuff that it's the same thing amongst ourselves.
Right.
It's a good time. So.
Yeah.
Well, Anthony, we appreciate you coming on our show. You're always welcome to come back on the show again, and hopefully we'll see you again. And like I said, we appreciate you representing Sideshow. Very professional, very good answers, and it's a lot. It's really helpful to understand kind of what's going on behind the scenes,
right?
And I think it was nothing but a good thing for Sideshow. So
yeah.
Thank you a lot for coming on, Anthony.
It was good to hear. No, it was fun. Hopefully, we can do some more in the future, and hopefully Sideshow will see these things as well. I mean, just real quick, I think there's a reason you've noticed a lot of people from Sideshow being, whether it's Martin or Danny or whomever, Will. There seems to be a little bit of push to kind of open up and engage with. Whereas before,
I think that's important. Yeah,
I always agreed. Before, I think it was a little locked down tight, just because the industry and just how things go. But I think Sideshow's seen the benefit of these types of things, and hence Jesse and I and Martin and Danny going to be at Statuecon. So they're cutting us loose, and we'll have some fun out there, and and chit chat, and I'm sure there'll be some, secret talk about stuff and divulging little bits and pieces.
No.
Nah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Bring
everybody up.
Just have an
Bring the beer, Marcos.
Yeah, extra liquor on him. I'll make
Popping up that beer.
I'll wake up in the morning and go, where the hell am I?
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I'm not going to name names or anything, but we went out there before. Like, I went out last year, right? And no specific company, but we all started drinking. In the beginning of the night, it was like, hey, no, we can't really talk about that. Towards the end of the night, it was like,
there you go. Yeah. That's why Marco was the first time I talked to him. He goes, hey, you like drinking? Yeah. And I was like, oh, I've been known to partake. We'll see what happens.
Honestly, I think it'll be a good time. It's a good time, and it's a good way for everybody to kind of represent their camps and represent everything that's kind of going on.
Yeah.
And we're all nerds at the end of the day.
It'd be like the old days. That's how it used to be at San Marcos. We used to have an after party at Comic-Con, and it was for the fans and it was a very small, intimate thing with 1/6 collectors, and it was like we decompress, we're having drinks, we're eating, we're having fun, and little tidbits of information, and everybody leaves happy and continues on with wanting to collect and is excited about things.
Makes the hobby stronger.
So that's a good. So Adam so that's another thing I got to add. So Anthony now and Jesse are going to that dinner, that Thursday dinner too. It was just It was Daniel Bell and Martini Clyde. But then once we figured out when they're going to be in town, it's option to them. I mean, of course, things change, but they're there.
Yeah, we're gonna all be there. I think K-Fet and Shane and me will all be there.
Yeah.
So we'll see you at the dinner. And it'll
Cool.
be.
Oh yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah, sounds good.
So, Anthony, stick around. We're gonna jump backstage for a second. We'll see everybody else off, guys. We appreciate you joining us here at the Collectors Table Live, where every collector has a seat. Thanks, guys.